G'day, mate. There's nothing that'll bring me back to life faster than a big bag of Marvel cash. Oh boy, we are here today to talk about my thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine. They're now part of the MCU. OMG. Oh, hello everyone, and welcome to the Many Thoughts I Have podcast. It's weird. I don't usually start my podcast like that, but hey, doesn't matter. We'll just go with the flow. It's all good. Yes, so I am going to be discussing my thoughts on the film Deadpool and Wolverine, which is Marvel's newest movie currently out at the cinema and has made the big bucks so far. I have seen it twice, so Marvel got my money 2 times, and I don't care because I loved it so much. You wouldn't think that I would be the type of person that would enjoy such a violent and gory film, but the fact that it's Marvel with just hilarity. I love the humor that Deadpool brings, and the fact that they brought in Wolverine. Hugh Jackman's back as Wolverine, but not the 20th Century Fox Wolverine. This is a different alternate. It's a variant of Wolverine. There's the word I was looking for. I was getting there. It took me a few steps. We've got a variant of a Wolverine, and I love him so much. He is so good. The fact that we get him in the yellow and blue X-Men suit is so cool as well. There is a ton of different character cameos and Easter eggs in this movie, but I will start off by saying that this film is so much fun and very fan servicey, I will say. It does definitely, really want to just give all of the fans what they wanted to see in the past in one giant project. And I think that's what Ryan Reynolds really wanted to get out of this. Is more of, and from what I've read in articles and from interviews that that him and Hugh Jackman have been in, it's been more of a goodbye to the old Marvel characters that never really got much of a chance, to be honest, or that, people loved to hate, essentially, because they didn't always do so well. I will say I wasn't a huge fan of the X-Men films when they came out. I am a fan of, I have a Blu-ray set of all of the X-Men movies. I can say I'm a fan, yes. But I wasn't one of the biggest X-Men fans, to be honest. I never, prior to this year, I had never watched any of the X-Men animated series. I've never watched any of the X-Men animated shows. And I never really grew up with them either. I only ever knew about X-Men through the 20th Century Fox films as they were released. And I enjoyed them for the most part just because they were, action movies with superheroes in them. And back then, when they were slowly sort of coming out in the cinema, I never really got into, I wasn't really huge on all of the superhero style films. But the moment the MCU started with Iron Man, the first phase of the MCU, I feel like I was hooked since then. I'd been watching I've been watching all of the Marvel movies since 2008 from the first Iron Man. And I haven't really looked back at all. I have not looked back. I will say, though, in the recent years, I haven't really watched many of the, what are they? I haven't seen Morbius. I haven't seen Madam Web. I haven't seen I haven't seen the second Venom film either. So the Sony iterations of the Marvel movies, I haven't really seen most of those, except for Spider-Man. Spider-Man, I've seen all of the Spider-Mans, except for the Andrew Garfield ones, which I really should go back and watch. And I've seen the first Venom movie. But yeah, every other sort of MCU related movie I have watched, except for maybe, no, I've watched the Marvels. I recently watched the Marvels. Were there any other ones? I'm trying to recall whether or not I may have missed one Marvel film, but it's probably not that important if I've missed it. It might be the Sony ones that I'm referring to, but that doesn't really matter in this instance. I have also watched majority of the TV shows, the Marvel TV shows that are part of MCU canon. I haven't seen a lot of the old stuff, so I need to sort of, at some point when I get the time, get around to watching some of that stuff, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've never really watched. I also need to go back and watch the Netflix iterations of the Marvel shows, Daredevil and Iron Fist and, all that, and Jessica Jones and all that sort of stuff. So I'll get around to those eventually. But we're not here to talk about the MCU as a whole, but they are related. We're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine here. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. The bromance has finally come together and produced this awesomeness. I had so much fun watching this movie. I laughed so much. I even had those, that brain not working the way I want it to. Come on, koala brain. Yeah, no, it's not coming. Damn it. I've even had those moments where I point at the screen and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know this, I know that, I understand this reference, and all that sort of stuff. There was just so much going on that I couldn't keep up with it, honestly. Like, I tried to keep up with it as much as I could, but then it got to a point where there was just a lot of things being thrown at me, and I just wanted it to slow down a little bit. But overall, I was very happy with what this movie gave us, even though it was absolutely fan service. But it was still great. It was still great. I really enjoyed it. I'm at the moment, has been very unspoilery at the moment. Although I don't know if I've spoiled anything just yet in the first 10 minutes. But if I have, I'm sorry. But before I get into spoiler territory of the film, I just want to say a big thank you to the writers and to everybody who worked on Deadpool Wolverine, Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, coming together to write this epic project, this fun time of a film. Sean Levi for directing it really, really well. He did an amazing job with this. And just Ryan and Hugh coming together and showing us the true meaning of friendship. These two have been friends for life, and it's amazing. I absolutely love it. I was very speechless by the end of this, by the end of watching this movie, and I am 100% gonna get this on UHD 4K. If there is a steel book, I will pre-order it. I want it. I need it. I also want to see all the behind the scenes to this, which I'm pretty sure Disney Plus will probably put out a making of doco on their subscription service, on their streaming service. So I'm really, if they do, I'm really looking forward to watching it, which I'm pretty sure they will. And yeah, I really want all of the behind the scenes stuff, because I love watching all that sort of thing as well after watching a film that I really enjoyed. So Deadpool and Wolverine, oh man, it's like a 9.5 out of 10 for me if I was to rate it. But rating it seems very poor of me to do that. I don't really like rating films because I never know where I don't know where I sit with it. I always end up changing my mind how many ever times I end up watching something. I might go back to it a third time and then be like, okay, now I can lessen it down, but I don't like doing that. So I'm not gonna, I don't want to be sitting here and rating things. So I will just say I highly recommend watching Deadpool Wolverine if you haven't yet, and you really want to see just a movie, giving a nice little farewell to characters that didn't really get the greatest of chances, essentially, in the past. And we're going to be talking about those character cameos that popped up in this movie, because there were several of them, including quite a lot of other Easter eggs that I'm pretty sure I did not pick up on, even on the second watch. There were times where I did pick up on some other things, but I definitely missed a lot of others. And yeah, I really just want to sort of get into it and just not really go beat for beat, but just talk about my favorite scenes and moments in the film itself. And especially considering the fact that I only watched it the second time like 2 days ago at the time of recording. That was kind of like my refresher. I had watched it the week that, I think not the week that it came out, literally the following Thursday after opening weekend, I ended up watching it for the first time then. And then the second time that I decided to watch it was just this particular week. And yeah, look, it's still fun on the second watch, and it's going to be fun every other time I watch this film. I know it for sure. But I've gone on long enough blabbing about how much I love the film. How about I talk about why I love the film? So we're going into spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you are going to watch it, I would definitely suggest you just hit the pause button for now. Go and watch the film first, and then you can come back to the rest of my thoughts on the film, because I'm definitely going to be talking a lot about everything that happened, almost everything that happened in the film, because I'm going to be fangirling over it all. So yeah, if you haven't watched it yet and you're intending on watching it, I suggest you do that first before you continue on with this podcast. Otherwise, let's jump into some spoilers. Spoilers ahead. I don't know how I'm going to go about talking about this film. I'm probably going to be jumping all over the place, so I will just say that right now, out front, being transparent here. The way I remember stuff is never linear. It is, I go from the start to the end to the middle to back to the start, and I jump around a lot. I really do. So I've got no apologies here. So this is going to be all out of whack, but there are going to be moments. I'm going to try my best. I'm going to do my best to keep it as linear as possible, but my memory sucks, And so, like I said, it's probably going to end up jumping around from, one side of the film to the other and in the middle and all that sort of stuff. So, okay. Whew. I don't know where to go from here. Where do I begin with Deadpool Wolverine? Well, when the movie opens, with, we're already jumping straight into a scene with, Deadpool digging up Logan's grave. He's like, you know what? You know how we said that we weren't going to, destroy the memory of Logan when he passed away in his final film? Well, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just going to dig him up. And Deadpool doesn't believe that he's dead because of his regenerative powers, and then he finds out that he really is pretty much skin and adamantium bones dead. And just takes him out and has a little chit chat with him. And he was like, oh, I was really looking forward to, teaming up with you, Deadpool and Wolverine, finally. But it wasn't meant to be, apparently. And he was so upset. He was so, disappointed. But then we find out that the TVA is after him, the Time Variance Authority, who we've met in the Loki series. And oh my gosh, the opening, I was not expecting an outright gory fight to start off the film. I thought we were going to get a little bit more in before that even happened, but you know what? They're just like, let's just go and just get straight into it. This is what the fans are here for. They're here for the weird and quirky, battles and the goriness of what Deadpool is. It is an R-rated film for a reason, and they just wanted to get straight into it from the get-go. So, Deadpool uses Wolverine's adamantium skeleton to piece by piece, breaks them off piece by piece to fight these TVA officers. And boy, what a freaking battle it was. Holy moly. And it was a great way for it to also be the opening credits to the film. I love how they engraved the names of the cast members and the director on each piece of adamantium bone of Logan. But every time we get a close-up shot of each bone when it's being used in the fight. The skull, of course, being Hugh Jackman, which was amazing. But this whole fight scene was just absolutely intense and just blood flowing everywhere, bones stabbing flesh, and you, of course, Deadpool's katanas definitely doing a bit of a job as well. It was, wow. What a way to open a movie, honestly. Just great. And then I was waiting for the moment that Deadpool was going to bring out the Wolverine claws, because considering the fact that he was already using Wolverine's bones to fight with, why not use the actual claws too? But after he puts them on and delivers the amazing line of, "I am soaking wet right now," holy moly. And that is definitely a nod to every other fan in the cinema. I am sure when he said that. Holy crap, that was I burst out laughing. It was so good. Hi. This is Future Fuji over here, the future koala who is editing the podcast right now. And I just wanted to jump in here before we move on with the rest of the thoughts on Deadpool Wolverine that I completely forgot to mention. There was a dancing Deadpool throughout this whole intro sequence with the credits. How could I have forgotten that? Past Fulia. Why? Why'd you forget about it? Yeah, so there was a dancing Deadpool, or I will say their name was Dance Pool, as Nick Pauly, dancing to an NSYNC song by the name of Bye Bye Bye. And I'm pretty sure most of you will know that song. And it was so great because it was Deadpool dancing, but like actually doing the dance moves from the Bye 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 music video. And it was hilarious the way that they decided to cut it in to this intro battle sequence while everything was happening, while there was blood and bones flying everywhere. You just get snippets of Deadpool just dancing. And it was very well done. I liked that they decided to cut it in and just sort of snip it all together. It worked very well for this intro with the credits. And yeah, it was also a great callback to, I believe it was the end of Deadpool 2 when Deadpool mentioned that he should have gotten NSYNC for the movie. So it's a great callback to that. But yeah, anyway, sorry to slow you down. Let's get back into the many thoughts I have. Yeah, and then they just cut there because they're like, so this is the present time, but let's do a flashback now and go back to where this all sort of started. And they do a rewind up until we get to see Wade Wilson, who ends up going into the Avengers office because he wants to be recruited to become an Avenger. And it's a really like this interview, and he's in the office with Happy Hogan, by the way. He's being interviewed by Happy Hogan, which he wasn't expecting him to be there. He was expecting, Tony Stark or something like that, or maybe even Nick Fury potentially. And yeah, the interview was it was funny, but also kind of bittersweet in a way, and sort of like sad as well, because Wade had all this sort of feeling of not being worthy and not matter in the movie, where everybody thinks like he doesn't matter in any sort of shape or form, and he wants to matter to people. He wants to be respected and he wants to be remembered. He wants to have a legacy of some sort by the sounds of things. And that's why he wants to be part of the Avengers. Like he wants, I think it's from what Happy was seeing, and obvious, like I could see this too. It was sort of a selfish feeling of him wanting to be, not wanting, more so he says he needs to be an Avenger, but he had selfish reasons for it. Because he wants to impress his girlfriend and his friends and stuff. So when that didn't work out for him, he ends up becoming a car salesman with Peter. He's his best buddy, Peter. Yeah, that was actually funny. But also the fact that he staples a toupee to his head, which, wow. That was a bit, anyway, that's fine. Like he obviously just wanted to fit in. But, the scarred face doesn't really help when you've got that, what did he call it? Was it was it a sunset balayage? Oh, boy. Yeah, no, it was just the way that it sort of started. Yeah, it was kind of bittersweet just to sort of see him not being Deadpool for a little while. He was just like, I just want to, if I can't be a hero, then I'm just going to try and be a normal person and just sell cars. But he can't even do that. He's like, trying to sell a minivan to a family, and he can't even stop cursing. Like he's just swearing in front of kids, and the mother of those kids were like, can you not sell with it without cursing? Oh boy. But yeah. Where do we go from here? So from there, oh yeah, end of the day, ends up going home, and his friends put on a party for him, a birthday party that he had. I think it was a surprise party. And yeah, they had a good time. They ate cake. Well, actually, no, they didn't get a chance to eat cake. They were having drinks, having a good time, and Wade made a wish, blew out the candles on the cake, and that's where there was a knock at the door, and it was the TVA. Oh boy. Yeah, so we get that. TVA's there, and he's like, well, for at first he thought they were like strippers or something. And then they bring out their rods, those, electrifying rods that send you to the void. They're pokey sticks, I will call them. They're pokey void sticks. And just this line that Wade just gives them is like, whoa, look, if we're gonna do pegging, that's fine by me. I've done it before, but Disney hasn't. So just the fourth wall breaks in this film are great. They're not necessary, but they're great. And they're still pretty funny when I was watching it, and it was really good. So yeah, TVA's there, ends up, taking Wade into the TVA through one of the time portals, and he's at the TVA. And he has no idea where he is, and then we come across another character by the name of Paradox, who is played by Matthew McFadden, and he does a great job. And Paradox, or Mr. Paradox, I should say, Mr. Paradox actually offers Deadpool to be part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe by helping him. This is what Mr. Paradox wanted. He needed Wade to help him destroy all the other timelines and help him save the sacred timeline. And when Ryan, oh my gosh, now I'm breaking the fourth wall. when Wade realized that it meant that he wouldn't be able to go back to his own life where his family and friends are, and that they would all be destroyed and die essentially with the timelines they were in, Wade was like, well, no, excuse me, I don't want that to happen. And then Mr. Paradox mentions something about an anchor point, or an anchor being. Wade thought it was him, but then Paradox said, no, it's not you, it's Logan. Logan was the anchor being, and now the timeline is now dying. So Wade was like, oh, well, if that's the case, why don't I just go and just grab another Logan from a different timeline and bring him to this one, and then all will be great. So that's what he thinks he needs to do in order to save his own timeline, to save his own little universe. But then finds out that that's not what that was supposed to be about. Like, that's not what Paradox wanted. It was, and bringing another Wolverine into a different timeline wouldn't work because there was already a Logan, and that Logan died. So it just makes it more confusing for everybody, including Deadpool. So when when Deadpool and Wolverine finds out what the real thing was happening, and that was that Paradox was building a time ripper, this big machine that rips different timelines and destroys them. He was in the middle of making that, and he was actually making it without the authority of the TVA. So he was doing it behind their backs, essentially, off the clock, if you will. And so Wade just decided, no, I'm not gonna help you do that. You're gonna destroy all these worlds. Why would I help you do that? So he's like, you know what? Instead, I'm gonna save the timelines. I'm gonna save the universe. I'm gonna do it with a Wolverine. And here's the part where I'm gonna be, jumping around. I did mention that Wolverine was brought back to Paradox. We're gonna go back a little bit. And I'm going to talk about the fact that we had a little Wolverine Logan montage where Deadpool went looking for a Wolverine. That montage was the best. I loved watching all the different variants of Wolverine just being portrayed. And I think that was like another way of sort of like saying, here's what these Wolverines could have been like live action if they got the chance, but they didn't end up happening. Or the fact that they also, and I honestly didn't even realize this the first time I watched, the Cavalrine. I didn't realize Cavalrine meant that it was supposed to be Henry Cavill, and that particular Cavalrine in the montage was Henry Cavill as the Wolverine. My brain didn't click. It really didn't. I was looking at him when I was watching the scene. I was like, that doesn't look like Hugh Jackman. Who is that? It did not click at the time. I only realized that it was Henry Cavill when I talked to my co-host over at a podcast called Fred, and they mentioned that was Henry Cavill, and I was like, oh, that's what. Okay, I get it now. Bit slow here, slower, bit of a slow koala, so bear with me. But this Wolverine montage of trying to find the right Logan for Deadpool was amazing, and the fact the first one was the comic accurate height Logan, where he was tiny, but he was still played by Hugh Jackman. Oh, I lost it. The moment he jumped off that bar stool. And then when Deadpool started to talk to him like he's some little puppy or something, or a little child. Oh, it was so good. I loved it so much. Oh, man. And then he just proceeds to jump through all these different timelines, these different universes, to go through these many different iterations of a Logan. And we saw quite a lot of them. Old Man Logan was there as well. Old Man Logan. We had a Logan that was in the yellow and brown suit. We had what other ones were there? There were quite a few different variations of Wolverine. So the Wolverine with that, Hulk versus Wolverine from that sort of comic, out of I think it was, and I'm reading this from a website I'm looking at right now. The Wolverine's first appearance famously came in issue 180 of The Incredible Hulk, and the two brutes have faced off dozens of times in the comics. And this is the Wolverine that had the brown and yellow suit, which is where we see him facing off the Hulk, which was really cool. That was actually really cool to see him pop up. We also got to see the Cavalrine. We saw a short Wolverine, Patch Wolverine, which apparently, and I didn't even know this, but he was apparently on an undercover mission in Madripoor. And the only part of his disguise was an eye patch, and how do you get away with just wearing an eye patch and being in disguise? Like, come on. But he looks really cool in that white tuxedo, which was nice. We saw a Wolverine that was from the Fever Dream storyline that was out of the comics as well. That one was really sort of shocking to see. The moment you see all these, like, it's just a sea of bloody skulls on the ground, and then a Wolverine kind of crucified on an X-shaped like post or crucifix or whatever it was on these skulls, and he's just standing there. That was a bit shocking, to be honest, because I was like, I've never seen or even heard about this particular version of Wolverine. But obviously it was just out of the comics, so that makes sense. I haven't really dabbled in the Marvel comics much. But yeah, that was an interesting one to see. And I love the fact that they actually made it work in the film, in that montage. And then we also got an Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, which is another Wolverine from a storyline I've never even heard of. Yeah, it was just really interesting to have, all these different variants be, popping up. I think out of all of them, the short Wolverine is probably my favorite, the first one that we see. And of course, and you know what? And Old Man Logan, because Old Man Logan, he had a shotgun, and that's all you need. He's just looking after his own place, defending it and all that sort of stuff. It's like, get out. You're on my property. Get off my lawn. Kind of a situation. Without that tone, of course. But yeah, all those different Wolverines in that one montage, it was the best. I loved it. I had a good time watching it all. But yeah, so going back to the TVA, Deadpool finally finds a Logan that isn't going to kill him. But ends up finding one that is, just drinking himself silly. And decides, you know what, even though he passed out on the floor, I'm going to take him. He'll do. That's what Deadpool did. Brought him back to the TVA, and the paradox was just like, you can't just bring in another Logan into a different timeline and just say, hey, we saved the universe and that's it. That's not how this all works. So once Deadpool and Wolverine find out what's actually happening, they're like, you know what, screw this. We want to save the universe. So that's what they end up doing. They finally team up, but before they could even go anywhere, Paradox defends himself by using his little void pokey stick, sends both Deadpool and the Wolverine to the void. And this is where the movie, I feel, really begins. I kind of like the way that they made reference to something that isn't even in the MCU, and that's Mad Max. Even Deadpool says, we can't do anything. We can't make it look like, Mad Max, because that'd be stealing IP. But they do it anyway. But they use it, but they make it work in a way that it's not necessarily Mad Max in the sense that it's the characters from the films. It's mostly just the way they've set up in this massive sort of desert area, because it's the void. There's nothing there except just space. And the way that they get all these different vehicles that come driving through the sands, and just the way that these vehicles actually look as well, very Mad Maxy. Yeah, it was actually cool to see that. I personally haven't seen any of the Mad Max movies. Not my genre of film, although I say that even though I'm talking about Deadpool here. Very violent movie, but it's also a comedy. Whereas Mad Max is more of an action drama, I think. But yeah, the void is probably the place that most of this movie takes place. I'd say half of the movie takes place in the void, before they jump out of the void and back into the the main sacred timeline that they're trying to save, including all the other timelines as well. So Deadpool and Wolverine are now in the void, and they come across a very familiar sounding character. And Deadpool gets very excited. And we come across, Chris Evans. He's the first major cameo that we see in the film. And, lo and behold, he's not actually playing Captain America, as Deadpool and a lot of fans thought when we first saw him was, because he was sort of wearing a cloak of sorts, covering up what he was actually wearing underneath. And that was a Fantastic Four suit, because this was a Johnny Storm variant of Chris Evans, where Deadpool thought that we were going to get a Captain America. No. So, he shows us that he is Johnny Storm, or also known as Human Torch, by, saying his line, "Flame on," instead of what Deadpool was waiting for was Avengers Assemble, but that didn't happen. But that's cool. That's totally fine. So yeah, Chris Evans is in the Deadpool movie, but I think it was his way of saying goodbye to his character from the Fantastic Four film or films that he portrayed back in the day. So that was really cool to see him do that. I don't think I watched those particular Fantastic Four films myself. I may have watched a different iteration of the Fantastic Four. And I don't think it was the one where Chris Evans was the Human Torch. I think it was a different one. But yeah, this was really cool to see, Chris Evans do something that isn't Captain America. And he just, the way that oh my gosh, the moment he starts talking, and because it's a Deadpool movie, there's a lot of cursing in this. Like, of course there's going to be. So the moment you start hearing Chris Evans start swearing in this film, I was like, language. But no, it's fine. We find out he's not Captain America. It's totally fine. So he can swear all he wants. And yeah, it was good fun to see him be the Human Torch. But then also get mutilated, unfortunately. But, that happens a little bit later. Before we even get to that, I do also want to mention the fact that when Deadpool and Wolverine actually arrive in the void, firstly, Wolverine was very upset with Deadpool. Very, very upset Logan. And they end up having their own little fight in the void, where there's a myriad of things there that look very sort of like it's been crashed there, or because it's been sent to the void, it just looks destroyed. And it just, oh my gosh. Like, we see I think it was the Avengers, the helicarrier was in there, all sort of looking banged up and sort of crashed into the ground, into the sand, half buried. We saw that. We saw, there was like, what else was there? Like, there was the Milano, the Guardians of the Galaxy, their spaceship, they crash landed in the void. There was quite a lot of different things. We see the Asgard castle, or part of the Asgard castle, but I personally didn't notice it. I don't know if it was actually like obvious, or if it was just visible in the background kind of a scenario where it didn't take my notice because it was in the background and not the foreground. But the Asgard, like part of the Asgard castle's in there too. There was also the Black Order's Q ship, which I didn't notice. As I said, Halley Carrier was in there too. The one thing that everybody sees first when the moment that we get to the void is the 20th Century Fox logo, half buried and destroyed in the void. Oh my gosh, I like this came out in the trailer as well, so we did see it in the trailer. But wow, it was, it, yeah. 20th Century Fox is now kaput. It's in the void. We no longer need to think about them anymore. Unfortunately, but they are now after the acquisition by Disney. They're now known as 20th Century Studios. But yeah, that was a sight to see. Just seeing that logo sort of half buried in the sand, where they have their battle in front of it, which was really cool. What else can I ramble on about? Yeah, so let's jump ahead a little bit. Deadpool Wolverine, and of course Johnny Storm, they all get captured by some goons. And some of those goons include, of course, they all rocked up in the Fantastic car, which I kind of noticed. I saw the 4 at the front, that 4 logo in front of the vehicle that these goons were driving. They were henchmen, I should say, and I was like, oh, that must be the Fantastic Four vehicle, and I think it was. But yeah, so some of the henchmen that we get to see is, we got to see the Russian, we got to see Psylocke, Lady Deathstrike was there, the Juggernaut, yes. Azazel, I had a hard time trying to remember Azazel's name. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, he's not the Nightcrawler. The Nightcrawler's blue. Which one's this one again? My brain just just could not remember at all every time I saw him pop up on screen. And it wasn't even on the tip of my tongue. I was like, I've seen him before, but I can't remember the name. I can't put the name to the face. But yeah, I find out later that it's actually Azazel that pops up in the void as well. Alioth from Loki. If you've seen Loki season 1, you'd know what Alioth is. It is a smoky, cloudy monster that just eats up anything in the void. And he's still there, or it is still there. Callisto's there too, part of the henchmen of Cassandra Nova, which we will get to. Pyro's also there. Pyro is definitely the one that we see. I think he's one of the ones that speak first out of all the henchmen. Toad is also in there as well. His long, giant, weird tongue doing the battles for him. But yeah, so they're all the henchmen that we get to see, and they all capture Wolverine, Deadpool, and Johnny Storm all together, and they all go out to their hideout, which is in the form of a giant Ant-Man corpse. Like, wow. It's hilarious. His hands are the gates to this hideaway, and the helmet opens up and it's the inside, and all you see is this skull, and Deadpool's line killed me. He's like, Paul Rudd finally aged. So good. Oh, man. Yes, no, Paul Rudd can never age. That man does not age at all. Uh, but yeah, we come across that. There were also other bits and pieces from Marvel comics and X-Men animated stuff, and like a Sentinel's foot, that foot that the Wolverine and Deadpool sort of shoot up off in like this rocket foot that they sort of get out of the hideaway with, and I was like, what is that foot from? Like it didn't click, and then I realized that later on it was a Sentinel's foot because they do fly. But anyway, I'm jumping a little bit too far ahead with this. But yeah, it's just the fact that we also get all these different other extra sort of like extra cameos and all that sort of stuff. So, I'm going to jump ahead after they get out. So they see Cassandra Nova. Cassandra Nova is Xavier's twin sister, who, when she was a baby, was sent to the void by the TVA because they could see that she was going to be a threat and all that sort of stuff. So she ended up growing up in the void, and that's what she loves the void, and that's her home. So that's where she lives now, and she's got all the power because she's pretty much the leader of everybody that comes across her in the void. I'm gonna sort of jump ahead to some other character cameos that we come across, and they're not henchmen of Cassandra Nova, but they are characters that were sent to the void by the TVA because they were characters from 20th Century Fox days. And they are, of course, Jennifer Garner's Elektra. We also get Wesley Snipes' Blade, and my favorite, my man, as of recently, 2024 year, we get Channing Tatum coming in as Gambit. Oh, please, while I fangirl so much. All right. I need to just sort of give you a little insight into what my love for Gambit has become. And it only just started this year. So seeing Gambit come up in this movie had me frothing at the mouth. Respectfully. I couldn't believe it when Gambit walked into shot onto camera. I squeed in the cinema. I absolutely squeed. I love the fact that we've got a Gambit in here. I just wasn't sure who it was going to be. It took me a little bit of time to realize that it was Channing Tatum playing Gambit, because I had no idea that he actually was going to be Gambit in a previous, quite some time ago. He was going to be playing Gambit in like a spin-off film from the X-Men where it was a Gambit movie. There was going to be a Gambit movie. I wish there was. That would have been awesome. But he never got a chance to do that because it all sort of started like when the Disney merger with Fox started happening. They had to put that on hold, or it was shelved forever, not to see the light of day anymore. And I'm kind of sad because Gambit's such a great character. There's so many layers to him. I recently watched, so this year, X-Men 97 was released, and I never watched the X-Men animated X-Men animated series before. So the old school 94 one. When X-Men 97 released, my friends at a podcast called Fred and of course myself, we all decided that we will watch it and sort of review it on our podcast, episode by episode, because Disney Plus was releasing them weekly. And I love animated shows, and I've recently sort of been getting more and more into sort of like the superhero side of things with animated series, even Star Wars animated series. And I had no idea I was going to love the X-Men animated series so much. Once the 97 series had finished, the season had finished, I decided that I had to go back and find out the history of these characters from the original animated show. So I went back and watched the 94 X-Men show, and I watched it from start to finish, and I literally binged it in I didn't binge it in like a short amount of time, but it was pretty quick for me. And I loved it so much that I ended up falling in love with Gambit, the character Gambit. Like that Cajun man can do no wrong. I felt bad for him, but I was also I also sort of, I could feel like I had some empathy for him and some sympathy as well. And just the fact that he was always trying to get close to Rogue, but Rogue, because of her superpowers, her mutant powers, she obviously couldn't get close in an intimate sense. And that's why she was always pushing Gambit away, even though Gambit was like, I don't care. I just, I just want to be with you and all that sort of stuff. And that's love, man. That is love. I don't know. I don't want to get into that, but Gambit is my man. That Cajun, as they say. And I love the accent. I absolutely love the Gambit accent. It's very unique. It's got like a very French influence. He uses a lot of French words, but he's still got like this Southern American kind of accent in there as well. And sort of that with the French accent sort of mixed together, it just sounds so good. But yeah, I know I've just tangented about Gambit for a few minutes here, but I just wanted you all to know where my love for Gambit sort of started. And it's very recent. It is very recent for me. I just fell in love with Gambit after watching the X-Men animated series. And then to see him show up in Deadpool and Wolverine, it blew my mind. And I was so happy. I was happy. I was like, I'm done. Okay, the movie can end here. I am good. I'm happy seeing this particular character come forth. That's all I need. But yeah, after that scene had happened, yeah, it was just really nice to see all these different sort of characters, come to life. And be brought into the MCU, just even if it is just for a short time. And of course, we did also get Daphne Keane as X-23, Laura, as she is also known. She was in the 2017 Logan. I can't believe that Daphne Keane was only 11 when she was playing the role of X-23 in Logan. That's nuts. And then they brought her back to play the role again. She's a little bit older, but it was so good. And just the fact that, she gets to see a Wolverine that's alive, even if it wasn't the one that she ended up spending most of her time with. And so that was really sweet to see her with, to be able to spend some time with a Logan. Yeah. All these characters coming together, teaming up to go back into Cassandra Nova's hideout. This was going to be an epic battle of, what's the saying? A battle of epic proportions. There we go. That's what I was trying to say. And they spent no time in getting in there in this Honda Odyssey. Which, by the way, I completely skipped over the fact that we did come across a couple of Deadpool variants, including Dogpool or Mary Poppins, and the current main lead Deadpool ended up falling in love with at first sight, and Nice Pool. Who knew we'd get a nice pool? Sorry. So sorry about that. So Canadian. I love it. Oh boy. And just that long flowing hair. So jealous. Looks better than a lot of the hair that I had before I cut all mine off. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, we did, come across those particular variant Deadpools, which was really cool. But yeah, so it was interesting to sort of see this team come together to get into Cassandra Nova's hideout to get her to help Deadpool and Wolverine save the universe, but in order to do that, they needed to get out of the void, and only Cassandra knew how to do that. And yeah, it was really cool to see this team rock up and just wreak havoc on everybody that was in there. It was so awesome. Going back to my love of Gambit for a moment here. Got to see Gambit fight with his cards and his I think it's is it a baton? I think that he wields the purple lightsabery looking rod. I think it's a baton. I hope it is. But anyway, you can see it from the distance, sort of glowing purple, and it was awesome. And I love the fact that I got to see him fight, even if it was from drone shots above. It was really cool to see them all sort of fighting it out. Elektra, Blade, Wolverine, Deadpool. They're all having their battle with all of Cassandra Nova's henchmen. And then they finally get an opportunity to, because they had to get, the thing that they needed to do was they needed to get Logan's, and not Logan's, oh my gosh. They needed to get Juggernaut's helmet to put it over Cassandra Nova's head so that she doesn't end up using her psychic powers against them. But that kind of backfired when they realized that she can't do anything without it in order to get them out. So if they wanted to get out of the void, they needed to let her go. But then she was very stubborn about wanting to kill them. But they had to somewhat come to an agreement of sorts. I don't know. Yeah, it was interesting, sort of a scene. The fact that, let's just talk about Cassandra Nova for a second. The way that she uses her psychic powers, she can do it without touching anyone, but in order to get into someone's head, she has to literally get, as she says, she has to get her hands dirty. And she literally pokes her fingers into the person's head in order to read their mind. And it just looked so weird. Unfortunately, the CG with that did not look great, in my opinion. I didn't particularly like the way that kind of looked on screen. Just the way that her fingers were sort of going in and out and then sort of like swirling underneath the skin of this person's face. And it just looked so strange and out of place that it kind of threw me off a little bit. If that's a critique I can make there, it did definitely kind of take me out of the magic of it all, I suppose. Because it just didn't look right, honestly. But I suppose that's probably the reason why that was her way of being able to read people's minds compared to the way that Charles Xavier does, which is literally just through the power of his mind. Yeah. Other than that, I think that's just a minor nitpick, I suppose, for me. So in order for Deadpool Wolverine to get out, Cassandra finds herself deciding to be nice. Like, she decides to just be a bit more sympathetic to their cause, I suppose. And but only after she finds out that, Pyro was sent into the void to kill her by Paradox. And that didn't happen. So she helps him out of the void by using a sling ring. Apparently, there was a Doctor Strange variant that came through the void, and she ended up taking his sling ring. Apparently, his cloak was also there. I did not notice the cloak. I may need to do a third rewatch. There's a lot of things I missed, honestly. There really was a lot of things I missed in this film. But yeah, they get out using a sling ring. But after they get out, and then we get Paradox. They come across Paradox. Paradox is like, it's too late. I've already built it. It's what the Time Ripper is now functional. This whole thing is done. This universe is gonna collapse. You've got. There's nothing for you to do now. But then Cassandra Nova decides she wants to come through too. So she comes into the real world, back into the sacred timeline, and just sort of decides to drag Paradox by his head. While her hand was in his head, and drags him over to where the machine is. But apparently, Cassandra's like, I've got, decided to invite some friends, quote unquote, to come through to distract Deadpool and Wolverine, or sort of hold them back for as long as possible. And we get all these different Deadpool variants coming out, which was good fun to see. I honestly, there were some in there that I had already knew about. There were also some that I had no idea about. So, leading the pack of Deadpools, we have Lady Pool, or Lady Deadpool, who was portrayed, or, voiced, I would probably say, by Blake Lively, who is Ryan Reynolds' real-life wife. And it was great. I actually love the fact that was a thing. The whole family was actually part of the Deadpool movie. the Deadpool Wolverine film. So Blake Lively was Lady Pool, and then his kids. I think one of his kids were, if I'm remembering correctly, played. So James apparently was credited as the Screaming Mutant. Inez was Kidpool. And Betty is credited as Hugh Jackman's Wrangler, which was hilarious. So yeah, it was a whole family affair for Ryan Reynolds in this film, and which was really cool. I really love the fact that that's what we got from that, and hey, those kids, they're gonna grow up to be superstars. So yeah, we get Lady Pool, we get a cowboy Deadpool out of Matthew McConaughey, which was cool. I was trying to put that voice. I was like, I'm sure that's Matthew McConaughey, but I don't know. I had to double check after the film had ended, and I was like, yes, there it is. And then the one that I didn't notice in terms of voice was Headpool, who was played by none other than Nathan Fillion. He was obviously he wasn't really he wasn't playing himself. Like, he wasn't using just his normal voice. He put on a bit of an accent for this particular character, which made it harder for me to realize that it was him. So that's why I didn't know that it was Nathan Fillion who played Deadpool. Oh, sorry, Headpool. But it was still funny, just seeing this head flying around, kind of like a drone almost. Yeah, so we had that. Nice Pool rocks up again, and so does Dogpool, of course. I think they were the first ones to come through the portal, to be honest, before the rest of them did. But yeah, there were so many variants of Deadpool, and it was so cool to see them all. There was like a samurai Deadpool. I think there was like, what other Deadpools did I notice? There was so many of them. There was one that looked like a droid. It was like a female-looking droid Deadpool that had kind of like lightsabery type swords. There was so many of them, and then we had this massive fight scene with all these Deadpools and Wolverine, of course. As the camera, the way that the camera does it though is really, I love the camera work in this movie, and especially in this particular scene. The camera is rolling slowly to the right, and it just keeps going and keeps going, but nice and sort of slowly, kind of like a slow sort of train. And as the camera's rolling across, you see all these, like, the fights happening from Deadpool, our lead Deadpool, and Wolverine coming across where everybody else is coming against them, like fighting against them towards the left of the screen, and Deadpool and Wolverine's coming through towards the right. And it was hilarious just sort of watching it sort of slowly all pan out. This camera slowly continuing to move across the scenery as each Deadpool gets slaughtered by the claws of Wolverine and the katana of our lead Deadpool, and of course guns and Baby Knife too, because Baby Knife has a little role in it as well. And yeah, we get all the way. We get to a point where there's a bus, and they have this fight scene in a bus where every time a Deadpool is killed or slaughtered in some way, there's a splash and splatter of blood against the windows, which is so gruesome, but in the end, it's just really hilarious. And then as they're happening, there's like all these different Deadpools. They're kind of breaking. There was one Deadpool that was sitting in the driver's seat, who did the face meme where he's kind of looking shocked towards the camera. He looks towards the camera. He's looking shocked. He's got his hands against his face, and and he's looking towards camera. So he's literally looking down the barrel of the camera, and then he gets killed. And then it just keeps going and keeps going. So the camera movement does not stop throughout this whole scene. It looks like a one-take wonder. And I absolutely love the way that this was all shot. By the end of it, they pan around to the back of the bus, and you expect both Wolverine and Deadpool to leap out through the back window, crashing through it. And the way that they do it too, they do a slow-mo as they crash through that window. They're jumping out of the bus. Wolverine is in his, the pose that we all know him in, looking all menacing, and Deadpool obviously coming through, but then Wolverine lands perfectly. Deadpool, not so much. And he literally says, "I can't believe I didn't nail that dismount." He ruined the dismount. Yeah, but it was hilarious. It was so good. It all sort of, even though like he kind of ruined the whole heroic sort of killing all these Deadpool kind of effect, sort of feeling from watching that all happen. It's fine. It's a Deadpool movie. Nothing ever works out perfectly. Before I move on, I completely forgot to mention the fact that majority of the movie, we have Wolverine without his mask on. Before this Deadpool battle scene, this big Deadpool battle scene, he puts on his mask. He puts on the mask, the Wolverine mask, and holy crap, I did another squee. And I was ecstatic. I was so happy to see him put on. And you know what? That Wolverine mask was made very well, by the way. Big props to the costume department. I will say they did a fantastic job on the Wolverine suit. My goodness, it looked so good. But putting on the cowl and the mask, and it's pretty much comic book accurate, or at least animated show accurate. It was really awesome just to see him put on the hood. Oh man, I think I may have gotten a little excited. Wow. Just remembering him putting it on. It suits him. It suits Hugh Jackman. That putting on the mask with the suit, it just looks schmick. It looks so good. Can't believe I'm using these words. Oh my gosh. The man is, what is he, 55 years old, I think? Oh man. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, let's fast forward back to after the Deadpool fight scene now. And we get to the point where they have to go after, they have to go and destroy the Time Ripper, but Cassandra's already there, and she's already started using it, and she's starting to rip away at all the timelines, because what she wants to do, and this is probably something I should have mentioned earlier, is use the Time Ripper in order to delete, essentially, get rid of every other timeline but leave the Void, because she loves the Void and she wants to rule the Void for the rest of her life. and that's the only place that she wants to exist. So here she is using the Time Ripper, getting rid of the sacred timeline in every other universe, or trying to at least, with the Time Ripper. Deadpool Wolverine come in, and Paradox is like, guys, you're late. She's already started using it. There's nothing else that we could do. The only way to have it all reversed is if we destroy the machine itself. And this is the point of the film where we get them going down, and they both kind of want to be the hero and destroy this Time Ripper, but they know that, and they've been told that because it's matter and antimatter colliding, if that goes through their bodies, it's going to rip them to shreds and they're going to die, essentially. This was essentially a suicide mission. And Logan and Wade were both kind of arguing with each other and being like, no, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. Kind of like little kids. And then, Logan's like, you have a family to get back to. You got all these family and friends to get back to. I've got nothing. Let me do this. Let me, make a name for myself, And Deadpool tentatively agrees to let him go. He walks through the door, is about to close the door behind him, and then it's like Deadpool said, psych, pushed him out, said, nope, I'm going to do it. You say hello to my friends and family for me. Locks the door and proceeds to try and destroy the Time Ripper by himself, but then realizes that he can't do it by himself because he needs to reach both ends to tear them apart, to destroy both sides of this machine. Underneath the machine, actually. They go underneath the machine. And yeah, it's just like lots of pipes and tubing and wiring that he's trying to sort of grab at. But it ends up being like he just can't make it. And it's getting to a point where the timeline is really close to being destroyed. And Wolverine is trying to smack down this metal door to get in there, which kind of looked painful, to be fair. But he manages to actually get through that metal door to then grab hold of Deadpool's arm and reach out and use his claws to destroy the other end of this Time Ripper's, like all the wiring. The moment they connect, the moment the claws connect, and this is where I also had a little bit of excitement as well. The top part of his suit just tore off, just obliterated off of him, and all you see is chest. Deadpool sort of leans back, looks around to see the backside of Logan, and he nods in approval. And looking at the camera while he's doing this, and he knows that he's doing that because he knows that the fans are all loving the view, essentially. He was right. A lot of us were definitely enjoying the view. And oh my gosh, but the thing is, he still had his mask on. Wolverine, that is. Wolverine, even though the top half of his suit tore off, his mask remained on his face. And, that just... I'm going to be honest here, that looked hot. That just... Wow. It looked absolutely just stunning. Why am I saying this? My gosh. I can't help it. I've been wanting to say this for a long time. I guess I had to say it to myself out loud on a podcast by myself. Oh boy, but yeah. Yeah, Deadpool Wolverine saved the universe. They saved the sacred timeline, everybody's fine. But Cassandra dies, she gets blown up into smithereens. The end. They get to go back to their family. Logan gets to stick around. Of course, Dogpool also got to be, adopted by Deadpool, which was cool too. And they also got Laura to come back through from the void, so that she could hang out with Logan. I don't know I don't think the others got a chance to come through, like as in Elektra, Blade, and Gambit. But I hope we get to see Gambit again at least. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna beat around the bush about this one. I want to see a Gambit film. If Channing Tatum can find a way to make it happen, I will be there day one. Day one when it releases, I'll be at that Gambit movie. Hi, hello. Future Fulia here again. Apologies, I didn't mean to jump in all of a sudden again for the second time throughout this podcast. But after listening to myself yammer on about Deadpool Wolverine, I, again, completely forgot to mention the fact that the music in this movie was absolutely the best. Like, it worked so well. All the different songs that they added into this really worked with each of the scenes that we got. The actual score of the movie was also really good too. But I just want to kind of shout out a couple of the songs. So I did mention at the beginning, the first time I interrupted the podcast, that Bye 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 by NSYNC was at the beginning of the movie. However, the rest of the movie had some really good songs as well. And just like really funny like placements, including a lot of like, even the music was breaking the fourth wall. Like that's how far they wanted to go with this. The fact that they had, during the fight scene between Deadpool and Wolverine in the Hyundai Odyssey, they're fighting in this small car, and when Deadpool grabs Wolverine's head and smashes Wolverine against the radio, and all of a sudden the music starts, and it's Hugh Jackman's The Greatest Showman, one of the songs from that. And he just goes, whoa, and then smacks it again right on the beat to stop it. And then all of a sudden, You're the One That I Want from Grease starts playing as they're trying to kill each other. That I cried. I was in tears from laughter. That was so good, and the music just worked so well. It looked, and it was just, that whole particular scene looked really good, And then I just want to also just mention, towards the end, when it came to the Deadpool and Wolverine versus the rest of the Deadpools battle scene, that fight scene towards the end, when Wolverine puts on his hood and then they start going at the slow-mo walk, when Madonna's Like a Prayer starts playing, I had chills. I had chills going down my spine. And then the rest of the music just kept playing as they were fighting their way through all these Deadpools. it was so much fun. I really loved it. It worked so well. I just want to give a huge shout out to the team that put together the actual, the songs to make it work in the movie. It worked really well. It was a lot of fun to listen to and watch. So the experience of watching this movie with all these songs playing throughout just made the movie all the more entertaining. And also a huge shout out to Rob Simonson, who actually did the original score for this film as well. Really great music throughout the actual movie. Just in every single scene, just nails all of the different emotions and, just the humor, and it all works. It just all works. This is why you need to have music of some sort in any kind of film, because without it, it's just quiet and it's boring. So the music really makes a film. So kudos to Rob Simonson and the rest of the Deadpool Wolverine team who put together the actual the soundtrack, the OST. It was so much fun, and it made the watching experience all the better. So, big kudos to that. I just wanted to shout that out. And now on back to past me doing the wrap up to the podcast. Oh man. But I've pretty much explained majority of the movie. I know for a fact that I probably left out some stuff that I could have mentioned, but my brain doesn't work that way because I've probably forgotten to mention them. But we're not going to jump back and be like, hey, I forgot this and this and this, because I already did that to you all, and I don't want you to all go through that pain again. So I'm going to leave it there for today. If there are things that I didn't mention from the film that you were particularly, impressed with, or that you really enjoyed, I would love to hear from you. Please let me know what you thought about Deadpool Wolverine if you've seen it as well. What were your favorite scenes from the movie? Did you have a favorite character cameo that popped up? Did you enjoy the way that the sort of story went? I mean, I will say overall, just sort of to wrap it up here, like I said at the beginning when I was not spoiling the movie, it is a very much a fan service movie to just bid farewell to some of the characters that are either being rebooted or that we're just never going to see again, essentially. And the characters that had the chance but didn't get a chance to say goodbye in their way. So that's what this movie was about. But also it was about friendship and family and all that sort of stuff. So it was a good time. There was good messaging in there as well. And it's just a fun time. If you're just sort of going out there to poo-poo on movies because it's not what you were hoping it would be, just leave your brain at the door, grab your bucket of popcorn, and just enjoy the film for what it is. That's all you need to do. That's pretty much where I'm going to end it here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the Many Thoughts I Have podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a 5-star review or rating on your podcast service of choice. And remember that you can also comment on each of the episodes over on Spotify. So like I said, if you do have thoughts about Deadpool Wolverine that I didn't mention, you can mention it in a comment on Spotify. Let me know how you felt about this movie. To keep up with me, you can follow me on socials at Foolish Fuji on X and Instagram. For video content, you can head over to youtube.com/Foolish Fuji And for my live streams, twitch.tv/foolishfuji. All this and more will be on my website, foolishfuji.card.co. That's card with 2 R's. All of the info I just rolled off will be in the show notes. That's it from me. Remember to look after yourself and your mental health. And happy thinking, friends.